I bumped into a popular quote that says, "All leaders are made and no leader is born," by Irumva. This is the opening quote on her website, a quote she believes in and a quote she lives by. So much so that she has dedicated her professional career in shaping companies and individuals into leaders through her company, Lead Access Limited. She has a wealth of experience in leadership, managing teams of over 1,000 people in East Africa, and she has offered training at top-tier companies and shared some of that wisdom in her book, Lead Your Way Up. She's our guest today on The Boss Lady. Hello there, how are you doing? My name is Indira Ganga. I'm a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. And this is The Boss Lady, a show where we get to feature and platform women leading the way in entrepreneurship and the C-suite. They talk about their journey, they talk about the challenges, and they talk about scaling up, because that is what entrepreneurship is about. And most importantly, that is what female entrepreneurship is about. Iris is an important guest because leadership is an integral part of building a business. And today, she's here to share nuggets of wisdom. Iris, thank you very much for making time.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Actually, when I met you, I was telling you, you look very, very lovely.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you. I appreciate.
and I think I would just start there. You know, most of the time, we really ignore our personal outlook. You're like, no, I'm good at what I do. I'm just going to show. Why is it important to always show up and show off?
I don't know if you heard about this saying, but your first impression is your last impression. So I think it's very important to make sure that you dress the way you want to be addressed, especially if you're in the corporate world or business world. So it's something that I personally take very seriously, because I've noticed how in this world where appearances count a lot, people would dismiss you just because of the way you're dressed up. So I think it's also very important on a personal level to just take care of ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's mixing the both.
And I think that's so important, because I also realized that when I started dressing up, people take you a little bit more seriously. You'll get access to places that traditionally you would not get access to, because people, once they see you, they perceive there's something you bring on the table.
Absolutely.
And I want to tie this to your journey, because you sound so smart and so brilliant, and someone might just think, it's always been in her. But then we go to your website and you say, nope, it's not always in you. Yes. It's nurtured. How did your journey towards becoming a business strategist and a leadership coach begin?
That's a very beautiful question. So my journey started with me not believing that I was born a leader, actually, which is one of the things I really share about, because, as I said, when people hear me talk, share these leadership nuggets, the first thing they're like, oh, she must have been born like this. And most of my classmates would absolutely disagree, because this is not the Iris they've always known. The Iris they knew was someone who's shy, who doesn't talk in public, whose opinion she keeps to herself. So my journey began when I started working for a telecom company back in 2009 in Burundi. I was working for this big telecom company called Telecel. It was in West Africa and some of the countries in Central Africa. And I did not get the best choice in terms of where I was going to work. So I started as an intern in the HR and administration department. And funny enough, that was the oldest department. Like, most of the young people were working in sales, in call center, commercials, etc. But it was a pure hazard that I found myself in that department. And that department required first to be someone who's very discreet, because you're holding people's information, personal information. You have to hire, you have to fire, you have to manage conflicts within the company. So I had no choice but step up and grow up very fast. So that is how my journey began. So because I was in a hot seat, a seat where I had this major responsibility, and I always had in me something that I was never going to be mediocre. I really thrived to be excellent, even in my studies. Anything that I touched, I wanted it to have that signature of Iris. So I took the task on and slowly got promoted to better roles, being a recruitment manager, working after for the UN. And after all, leading a company in Rwanda that actually impacted more companies, because this company now was not only hiring on behalf of other companies, but it was also training leaders. So that's how I would say that my career started. And today I'm very happy to lead to serve. I'm happy to serve at Lead Access because now my passion that I know for sure, I know it's really empowering leaders at all levels, something that we lack today.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because you've paid your dues, you've done your time, you began in a department where you're not comfortable in and worked your way up. And it's from this that you saw gaps in the market and said, I am ready to chart a new path for myself. What are some of those gaps that you've now turned into opportunity that you saw in leadership that inspired your journey today?
Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest leadership gaps we have today is the ability to empower more leaders. Most leaders are exhausted. They take on a lot of things. They don't trust their teams to do the work. They are not patient enough to train their teams. So because of that, guess what? We have exhausted leaders. So one of the things that I try as much as I can to push leaders to do is train your people and step out.
Yeah.
Let them lead. Let them take the lead, and don't consider that leadership is about a title, because everyone can become a leader. If someone like me, who definitely believes she was not a leader, who believes she didn't have a voice, who thought she doesn't even have a message to talk about, and I am here, so anyone can. So the four things that I just mentioned, being patient, training your team, passing over the power, because I don't know about certain African countries, but at least in East Africa, we have this mentality where if I know something, I don't want to transfer the knowledge because you might take my position. Right. And because of that, lots of leaders, I call them managers, when they have that mentality, because it's not a sustainable mentality. Anything can happen to you. So all of us are replaceable. So it is our call as leaders to actually create environments where most people can step up, because then we can enjoy life, because life is not just about working. And when I see a leader who has in their calendar time to do something that's not related to work, I'm like, that's a leader who've mastered their time, who know that life is not just about work.
Yeah. And it's important you say that, because I've worked in management before. As you said, we don't even think about it as leadership. And I said, never again. I don't want to do it again until we're having this conversation. But everything that you touched, I was just, girl, it was too much. It really was too much. And I was like, I don't want to do this if this is what it is.
Yes.
And it's such a breath of fresh air to hear that there's actually a way to do it, and there are tools at your disposal that you can employ to become a better leader or a better company. And that's where you come in. So here you are, you have the idea, you have the skills. How does it work when you go out pitching to clients? Take us back to the first time you go to a business or an individual and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'd like to do this with you.
That's an interesting question. I have led a company where for some time I had to restructure the whole sales team and become the salesperson. And guess what? I never introduced myself and said, this is what I do, how can I help you? Because, and I'm going to tell this to all the boss ladies who are listening, you don't have to sell by only putting a product or service in front of your client. Before you receive, you need to give. That's my mentality when I'm selling. So I first want to know the person that I'm discussing with. What are they passionate about? What problems are they currently facing? Because from the problems that they're facing, I can actually, one, build the trust. Second, ask or provide them something that they actually need, as opposed to just coming and being the salesperson and say, my company is Lead Access, and what we do is provide coaching training, because that is not memorable. But if I tell you, oh, you're going through a management crisis, you're having a hard time to rest, how about I come in and help you to do ABCD? Because now you are talking to the core of what a person is going through. It's no longer just, oh, this is what we deliver. You are saying, this is how I can help you get to the next level. Then you become someone who is of value as opposed to someone who's just selling themselves.
Yeah. Find the problem and solve the problem.
Exactly.
Pain point, pleasure point, and then address that.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's so interesting because these are spaces that are not traditionally for women. Because when you think of, and by and large, we are very lucky. And I say lucky because Rwanda has put in so much work in terms of integrating women into leadership in the C-suite. But that's not the reality for many African countries, or just even many women, despite the fact that work is being put in. And here you are opening that door, bringing your own foldable chair and making room for yourself at the table. But not many women can do that, you know, because when you think of leadership, you're like, no, maybe I want to be a mom. I want to do this. Maybe give me another 5 years. What would you say then are some of the things that particularly hold women back when it comes to leadership? And we know like there are those traditional challenges, but at the core of it, what are some of the things that as a coach you've seen in your interaction with women that just makes them hold back from going all in terms of leadership?
That's a very great question. So I want to talk about, I would say 4 points. The first one that I want to talk about is guilt to balance work and life. I think you just mentioned about it, you know, most women have the biology clock. We think, we want to be the best mom, the best wife, the best partner, the best everything. And because of that, we feel guilty when we do the extra hours, when we start early or leave late. That guilt is just going to hold us back because we are neither fully home or neither fully at work. So that's something we need to work on. The second thing that holds us back is confidence. There are many studies that show that, when men don't have all the qualifications to apply for a job, they will still do it. Women, even if we have like 90% of the requirement, we won't apply. So that confidence is something that we really, really need to let go of. And the other way it manifests is there's an opportunity, instead of jumping on it, you're now starting to ask for advice. And asking for advice from people who are not necessarily doing crazy, mighty things is something that can hold us back. The third thing that kind of holds us back is limited networking opportunities. And I said that because most men close deals in bars, they're traveling, they're doing all of those things that women do not actually venture in. And I want to give an example of myself.
Yeah.
There is a time I had an opportunity to go close a big business. And the first question I asked myself was, oh no, I can't do this because my kids are going to be this, and maybe my partner, this is going to, I just did not want to consider that. And then for a minute, I thought, what would my partner do in this specific instance? And a voice told me he would just take on the opportunity and go. He would just inform me. And I stopped thinking and I just did it. And I was like, oh, now I see why most women don't get these opportunities is because we ask ourselves too many questions and we're missing out so many opportunities to network. And the last thing that holds us back, it has a lot to do with the society that we live in, which is not as many women are as educated as we would want to. If you're looking at how many women are pursuing master's degrees, PhDs and whatnot, because again, we think about our social responsibilities and we want to prioritize more of that. But one thing that I want to say to all the boss ladies listening is what? If you really have the calling to be at home and thrive at that, do that. But if in your heart you want more, go for it. Don't let anything hold you back.
And I like that you said, if it's in you to go for it, don't look back, go for it. How then do you do that?
That's a great question. You just do it. Because the best way to know if you can is to act. If you don't act, you will never know if you can be good, if you can fly high. But actually, if you act on it, if it's a business plan you have, the best way to find out if your idea is good is actually to do it. If it's studies, if you want to be sure you get that degree, the only way is to start. So I would just say start. That's the secret ingredient. It's starting.
Yeah. You start, and then there's a need to build your way up. What are some of the things or the milestones that you need to look towards to or build upon to get to become a leader?
That's a great question. So the first thing that comes to my mind is conquer yourself. Women were our biggest enemy because we have multitude voices in our heads that are telling us, you can't do this, you can't do that. Look at how your sister, cousin, whatnot is doing. You're not as good, you're not as beautiful, you're not as smart, you are not. So all those voices we need to just shut. So that's the first step, because if you have that self-confidence, if you have that self-leadership in you, you become a self-starter. So that is the way you're going to get started. Now, the second thing you can do is actually surround yourself with people who inspire you to be great. And what I call in my book, I call this type of people the golden circle. So these are people that are cheerleaders, people who are not afraid to tell you, oh, hey, here you could do better. And these are people who will also step up for you. If you need any advice, any support, they will be there for you. And so the reason I really insist on this is that none of us can achieve greatness without the support of people in our communities. So we need to build the skills to be actually great recruiters of those people. And to be able to get a great golden circle, you need to be networking smartly, because now we're talking about people that pull you up, people that inspire you. And then now the last thing that you have to really be aware is, what are your great talent? Because if you don't know what your calling is, if you don't know what you're really good at, it's very, very difficult for you to be great. Because all the people that are great, they're great at something they're talented about.
Yeah. And on that note, I'd like to take a breather there and just leave you with that as we take this short commercial break. Think about it and ask yourself, whether you're in the C-suite, whether you're in corporate, whether you're running a business, what is it that you're actually good at? What is it that makes you stand out in a room? What are you so phenomenal at doing that in the middle of the night, your eyes closed, one hand tied behind your back, you can do it with ease? That is the beginning of your greatness. Hello there, welcome back to The Boss Lady. My name is Ndira Ganga, and today we're chatting with Iris Irumva, who is the founder and CEO of Lead Access Limited. If you're just joining us, welcome. A whole lot of discussion that you missed. We're talking about women in leadership, and this is an interesting episode because it's not just in the C-suite. She cuts across even with business. She has spoken to us about showing up, looking your best, and then taking up space. What are some of the things that you need to conquer within to be able to become an amazing leader? This second part of the conversation, we want to talk about some of the stereotypes that we hear when you're trying to become a leader or running a business. And I want to focus on women who have now elevated a little bit, right? And now you're probably in senior management or you're at C-suite level. And one of the most common thing is women are emotional. You're very emotional. Women are aggressive. No, you can't be assertive. You're aggressive. And women are not born naturally leaders. You guys are followers. And these are just so many stereotypes. You have a family at home. So many women have been denied opportunities because you think if you factor in her children and her husband, what time will she have for your company? And these are stereotypes that women have to battle with every day. How then do you gracefully but assertively make your name and your place known?
That's a great question. I love that you're starting with these stereotypes. They make me laugh all the time because, wow, who thinks like that? But yeah, it's still true. In so many places, women are still not considered to be leaders. And it's because we have a certain way we've packaged leadership. We've packaged leadership as, when someone is big enough, tall, has a strong voice, there's a way. I'm sure if I asked you in a room full of 10 people, show me who's a leader, you're probably going to pick the one that looks like that. And that holds certain women back. And one of the things I have to say is, if you are a woman who has gone through circumstances where people don't believe in your potential, in your leadership potential, just know one truth is that men oftentimes are promoted because of the potential they have to be great at their job, while women are promoted because of proof that they are great. So if that is what it requires as a woman, be sure you don't give your enemy a chance to be mediocre. Be as good and great as you can so they do not ignore you. That's what the whole philosophy about being a boss lady is about. It's about being that bold person that walks in a room, that is not afraid to protect her little sisters, to show up for them, to build an environment where more leaders, more female leaders can be heard. I think today we have the opportunity to stand up, speak up, because of all the women before us that spoke about, that defended our rights, etc. So that is what we ought to be. That is what we ought to do as well. So be the voice that encourages other women. Be excellent at what you do, that so that they do not be so great that they cannot ignore you. And lastly, make sure you're setting the right example for other fellow sisters who will look up to you.
And as we almost come to a close, I want to niche this down a little. How to lead can be a big challenge. So what tools and skills do you employ as a leader to ensure that business is running smoothly without getting burnt out or responsibility fatigue?
So the first thing any business, any company, any team needs is awareness. What makes us great? Where are we currently, and where do we need to be? So there are several tools that are available actually on my website that people can look into when they want to assess exactly where they are, and they want to now narrow down the vision of where they want to be, because that's when you can get help from a coach, a strategist, to help you actually get to where you want, but you've got to be aware first of where you are and where you want to be. The second thing that I want to talk about is continuous learning and curiosity. These are like tools that are not shared enough about, but if you want to grow, you need to be aware of where the world is heading. So how curious are you about the things that you need to learn and develop? So those are the ways I think companies and people can actually, the values that they need to embrace if they are to be great.
And, I was going through your website, which you've mentioned before. And as I mentioned at the beginning, leaders are not born, they're made. That's the banner out there. And outside of just coaching, you've diversified your product portfolio. Now you have a book, and it's called Lead Your Way Up, which is already out. For those who haven't grabbed a copy, I want you to tell them why they need to get one.
That's a very interesting story. I think everyone at some point in life wants to be successful. All of us want that. But not every day do we have leaders share their stories of how they did it and strategies about how we can do it. So that is the reason why you need to grab the coffee. It's because it has inspirational stories, interactive and engaging methods that, as a person who wants to be successful, you can immediately apply. In my mind, when I was writing this book, I had the African who wants to be great, who has a lot of potential, who's hungry for more, who's probably been told no a couple of times, but doesn't want to give up. And I wanted to say, if you're that person, this is a tool that is going to help propel you to that type of success, because if you don't give up on yourself, you will make it. Let everyone else, don't tell yourself no. Let others do it for you. And aim and strive to always be excellent at what you do. So that's what I wanted to help anyone who's dreaming, who wants to get there, regardless of the level where they are. You can be a C-suite, you can be entry level, you can be a mid-management. The book is for you.
Mm-hmm. And I like that you say the book, outside of inspirational stories, it also has strategies. Because like you said, many a times when you ask people, how did you do it? They're just like, oh man, I'm just so grateful to God, which is very important. But okay, get to the part of how you did it.
Exactly. Share that. And it's actually my call to all leaders. Every time I shake a leader's hand, I'm like, when are you writing that book? We need people to tell their stories. And it's very funny because people can write about your story. But if you share from your own narrative, how you did it, it is even much more powerful and it's even more inspiring. So the book is not just inspiration. I thought about, if I was to read a book, I want something practical for me that I can apply. And that's what I promise to my readers.
How can people get the book?
So the book is available on Amazon. It's also in the Kindle version. Very soon there will be an audio version for all the people that love just listening while they're driving. And also it's going to be available in Kigali shops from next week.
Ooh, okay. Because I know a couple of people who've been trying to get a hand on a copy, right?
Absolutely.
And it's been quite challenging, but we're very excited. If you're into technology, Amazon Kindle, and if you like hard copy like me, where it's the cold season right now in Kigali,
absolutely,
a cup of hot chocolate and How Lead Your Way Up by Iris Irumva on the hand.
That's a great match.
Yeah. Thank you so much for making time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, boss lady, for listening. You can always connect with Iris on social media at
Iris Irumva.
And you can connect with us on social media at Royal FM. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.